the fact of the matter is that our users, whether it be our employees, our patients, businesses that we partner with, there's an expectation of access. And so it's kind of information all the time, every time, anywhere, anytime, is the expectation. And so the application designs have moved, in that direction. And so whether or not an organization has adopted a cloud-first strategy, the systems that we're using are kind of dragging us in that direction, whether we're going along willingly with a plan, or if we're just kind of tackling the fire of the day as these things kind of crop up. But because of the design of applications and data being more mobile and portable, cloud architecture infrastructure actually supports that in the most efficient way. And so all of those objections that you heard from those executives 10 years ago have been flipped and are now the requirements for the applications that they're trying to serve to their constituents with inside and outside of the business. Yeah. So I really think that I think there's a term that we've used a couple of times as we've been talking about this, is that the cloud or the cloud environment is inevitable. Things are moving in that direction. Even if your intent is to have an on-prem data structure or infrastructure, you're going to have to mirror cloud services in order to be able to support the applications that you're going to be deploying. So I see it as a major move in the marketplace. I tie it back to the day that Netscape launched. If you go back to your original 1991, is that if you did not have a visual internet strategy and saw yourself as a technology company, that was a very alarming day for you when the companies that did have that presence shot to the top and really ultimately started the .com era. So, having a plan, knowing that this is coming, and being able to, meet that business-driven change with a strategy is going to be key to success.
Yeah, Jim, just to build on that, it's kind of funny with technology today. You think of the last decade, the end user, our parents, our grandparents, our kids, they're on the cloud all day long. They use the cloud more than sometimes some organizations are actually using it. So it's amazing how this shift in fundamental technology, where IT was once the domain of people like me, the geeks in high school and the geeks in college, right, that had all the knowledge. Nowadays, people are using the technology seamlessly on the cloud day in and day out, and we don't even think about it. So Dave, kind of, taking what Jim said, what would you add to that? What's missing in kind of how we think about the cloud a little bit today?
Well, I think Jim, you gave us a good perspective and kind of took us on a journey on the Netscape. And Tim, like you mentioned about the objections that were there before, the trust in cloud, security, data security was a big concern. A lot of IT administrators that I heard, didn't want to let go their job security in many ways. So there's this kind of fear of unknown, but fear of not changing things.
Yeah.
And there were real problems back then also around your carrier services. Your internet was not as reliable. You had the applications were too fat in some cases. They can't run. I think the whole, I would say the whole ecosystem is now circling and doing the kumbaya around cloud. Yeah. Right? So you have to almost be part of that culture, be part of that change, and kind of, have a cloud first strategy in some way for you to not be left behind, right? So, if you try to do integration, application integration, or some things, you will kind of feel disconnected or have multiple applications to just left with a lot of integration work if you don't have a cloud first strategy at the end.
Well, if we use the internet evolution of the internet and the .com space, right, it became at one point in time in the 90s that it was the forward-leaning, forward-thinking companies, the early adopters, the innovators that were moving to the internet, setting up these presence. And many times they were mocked or they're made fun of by their brick and mortar counterparts, right? And now, if you look at it, you can't be a successful business if you don't have a digital presence, right? And that there was a point in time where it shifted from this kind of moving slowly towards it to where everybody had to have it. And it happened really fast. I kind of feel we're at that point with the cloud, where I can't ignore it any longer. My users within the organization, as Jim said, the patients that we're using are expecting that they can access everything from their phone, which means that we have to have more versatility and agility with our data and how we actually present it to the organizations. Many of our providers that that we're using, whether it's a healthcare application organization or some kind of Internet of Things that's monitoring devices or something like that for the healthcare environment, they're all moving towards the cloud at an accelerated rate. And what we're finding, the cost of moving to the cloud is becoming a lot less expensive too, right? So the cost is making it cheaper to move, even though it's not really a cost play, but cost makes it affordable. You go back 5-10 years ago, internet wasn't reliable. It was also a lot more expensive to get gigabit. And now you can get gigabit in the home for a reasonable price.